My marriage is not great, finances are bad, and my kids are disobedient. Where do we start? Seems overwhelming to change and fix everything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what would,
We've been there.
I mean, sometimes it can, especially like, let's just say you just came out of the world, or you're at that point in your marriage where it's like about to break, on the line of divorce. It's just so overwhelming. Where does a person start?
So that's two questions. So it depends on whether or not you're tight with Jesus or you're not tight with Jesus. Because you can be tight with Jesus and going through all kinds of trials, and then there's a whole answer I'm going to give you. And then there's you're not a believer or you're not tight with Jesus, and some of these things that are going on in your life are consequences of you not being tight with Jesus. So this is the place I always start. And almost every time I ask someone, one of these is missing. And it's, are you really having that quiet time with the Lord? You just get up, you read, you pray, you let God speak to you. He speaks to your heart. He shows you something to do. He gives you something to give to your mate or to your kids or to the people around you. And then after you leave his presence, you have an assurance of how much he loves you. You start your day fully aware that Jesus has forgiven you and made you a new creation, and that you're cleansed and white as snow, and now about his business to go out and pour out his love and joy and kindness into the lives of people around us. And again, that's usually not happening. People aren't reading and praying. And when we say reading and praying, I just defined, don't start your day without really spending time with the guy that loves you, knowing that he loves you. The other thing is you need to be in fellowship. And so if those things are going on in your life, something's missing in one of those areas. You're not reading, you're not praying, you're not in fellowship, you're not around Christians. So that's 1 Corinthians chapter 11 through 14 is basically how we're a body and we need each other. And that if you're not doing that, then that's part of the issue. And lastly is, are you sharing the love of Jesus with the people around you? So you have these problems going on, and to fix them, get focused on Jesus, not on the problems. You're right, that's overwhelming. Get your relationship with Jesus right, and he'll begin to show you how to take the baby steps. Mm-hmm. Sorry, there's a movie about that. Not the same process I'm talking about. But really, there's these steps that he'll take you through, and this is what will happen. Your marriage will get better. Your kids will fall in love with Jesus. Your finances will get better, and you're just blown away because you weren't even trying. Because he makes you a faithful, and it's a mom and wife and friend and just a woman that loves and serves Jesus and is giving your life away. And this is what Jesus said. You can never outgive him. When you give him your life, he's going to pour in his love and mercy and his goodness into your lives. And he's going to do it into the lives of the people around you. And your life is going to radically affect your marriage and your children and your finances. That's the promise that Jesus made. In his timing, not in yours. Right. So surrender to the fact that you don't have to fix it all. You just have to get your relationship with Jesus right. And again, that's if you're a believer. But if you're a non-believer, you just, again, it really is, you just need to go, okay, this is, the problem is I'm not right with Jesus, and now allow him to begin to change. So when me and Marcy became believers, we had every one of those issues and then 3 more that I can't tell you about, that they're secret. But all of that just began to change without us really focusing on the problems. It was just the fruit of living with Jesus and having his spirit inside of us and putting him first.
And if I may give you, is this a woman that asked that question?
Yeah.
Okay. So as a woman,
Alexis.
if I could give you some practical advice while you're doing the most important thing that Mitch just said, I like to make lists. So when I'm going through a difficult time, whether it's in my marriage or with my kids or finances or anything, I get a notebook or a piece of paper and I begin to write really what I'm thinking about, what I'm feeling, and what I want from the Lord in the midst of that. And then every morning when I'm having my quiet time, that list is right there in my Bible. And after I've read the passages that I'm reading, and I've talked to the Lord, and I've thanked him, and I've praised him, then I go to him with my need. And I say, God, what about this? God, what about this? And I wait for him to answer me. And so just as we said earlier, you can't circumvent the process. It's not just an overnight thing. Mitch and I have been married for almost 40 years, and those first 10 years were difficult as we began our walk with God.
17.
17? He says 17. But really, they were difficult because
were.
God had to get a bunch of junk out of our minds and out of our hearts and out of our life. It took time. But what happened was, as we read the Bible, as we prayed, as we fellowshiped, as we got involved in church, we learned things. And we learned about our God. We learned about ourselves. We learned about our kids. And there's going to be times throughout your life where it's going to look like your kids aren't going to love God. Your husband isn't loving God. He isn't loving you. There's going to be all of these different things. And so if you get your eyes off of God, that's going to be the stumbling point for you. You can't get your eyes off of God. And I was looking for the verse. It's in Chronicles somewhere, and it's the children of Israel, and this thing was happening, this war and all this stuff. And this one verse has been something that my friend has used. I've heard her say it, and it really resonates with me as well. It says, "We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you." And that's a good life verse. I don't know what to do all the time, but my eyes are on God. And so if in the morning, that's true, I don't know what to do in this situation with our finances, or my naughty kid, or my husband who seems to ignore me. I don't know what to do, God, but my eyes are on you. And you have the promise from the Lord that he's going to answer that. But again, not in our timing, in his timing, because he's a God of the process. I learned so much in the process of God answering those prayers. So much. So many valuable things.
All right, we're out of time, but I love how that program came together from the concepts that we're talking about, because listening...
2 Chronicles 20:12.
Thank you.
2012
Thank you. I was just going to look for it.
is, listen to you talk about how do I fix my broken marriage, and you say, go and witness. Like, logically looking at that, I'm like, how in the world is witnessing going to help my marriage? But the concepts we were talking about, fear, anxiety, depression, all those things are wrapped up of it's not about me. I need to go out and serve.
Right.
And what the Lord does with that when you're out there witnessing and sharing with him is amazing in your spiritual walk, because all those concepts are rooted and grounded in his word and are implemented in your life as you go out and do that.
Right.
Now, not knowing that, 15, 16 years later, it's like, man, look how the Lord does all that stuff. It's one of those things where it's not simple, but it's easy. And you got to trust that those processes work. And like you were talking about earlier, just fundamentally follow what the Bible says and let him flow out. Don't short circuit the processes.
And I like that you brought the witness up, because I was going to say that. And so thank you for reminding me. So for the last question, that's how I trained my girls. So I witnessed to my girls. So when they didn't believe what the Bible said, or they did this, or I would share my life with them. I'm an open book. So my girls knew all kinds of stuff. And I would just say, well, I'm sorry that you don't believe God, that God's real, but I'm going to share the story of how God was real. And so I'm witnessing to my kids. And when my husband's discouraged or I'm discouraged, he's witnessing to me, right? So it's just talking,
And
just sharing.
I'm sorry. And I did want to share one last thing. We're going to start on Tuesday night, September 10th, Biblical Foundations, and that is going to be a 3-part class. It will help you grow. It will give you the ability to share that truth and pour out God's love and mercy into people's lives. It's about really being solid in your faith, knowing the truth, and being able to apply it to your life and being able to give that to the lives of people around you.